Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last YouTube video, so I'll just hop into it. I'm a software engineer by trade, and I just want to talk about a big problem that I see with LLMs that is not being properly addressed to the extent that I would want, at least right now. And that has to do with version control. And so you're probably familiar with using Git for version control, but the issue that I've been running into is that when you're using LLMs, like for example, I've been working on this project with Cursor, you often run into the problem where you ask it some questions and it does a whole bunch of stuff, almost too many changes to really process at once. And you just want to see if the changes are going to work and see if what it's telling you is going to work. But the issue is that sometimes you don't know if it's going to work. And you want to revert back to a previous version that did work. And sometimes you can't do that. And so Cursor, I think, has been the best tool about this. And you can see here, they actually have these checkpoints. But the issue here is that when you use these checkpoints, you lose all the changes you made to revert back to that checkpoint. And so this is a big issue because what if I don't want to lose all those changes? What if I want to keep some of the work that I did? And so I don't think that's a great solution. But this is a lot better than, say, GitHub Copilot, where there honestly just isn't any version control at all. And it just does changes and changes files for you. And there's no easy way to revert back to your past changes. And you could always go into Git, but there's a whole lot of overhead of having to set up a Git repo, and then you have to manage that. And it's just not what I want to do. Sometimes I just want to prototype, get things done really quickly, and save my state. So if I try a bunch of things and they destroy my project, I don't have to worry. I can just go back and start working on the code again. And so I decided I'm going to make my own tool. And so that's what this auto backup tool does. Something I found myself doing a lot was going into different projects, and I would just find the folder I was working in. And honestly, I would just back it up to a zip file because it's quick, easy. I know my files are going to be there, and I know I can open it up. And so if I go off the wrong track, I can revert back to where my code worked. And I've just found it to be a really reliable way to back up my code. And so I just made a tool to automate that. And so you can see here, if I go to this folder, I can choose the folder I want to back up into a zip file. And then I can choose the location I want to dump it off at. And then I can change the name, test, YouTube, example. And here I'm able to schedule the backup. And so if I want to have the backup running in the background at a certain interval, I can. But in this case, I can disable that, start the backup, and went by really fast. And then I can go into my desktop folder, and then I can see test YouTube example, and it's going to have all the files there. Perfect copies, easy peasy, it all works. But if I want to, I can enable the scheduled backup. And then here you can see all of the scheduled backups you have. Right now they're all disabled, but if you want it running in the background and just making different versions for you, you can do that. You can enable it and do that. If you've done a manual backup, they're saved here. And if you just want to back up the same folder over and over again, you can just click this backup button and it'll repeat the process. You also can see the backup history, so you know when backups happened. And then you can also add a revision note. And so if you want to do a backup, but you want to kind of like a commit note, say this is for an example. And then you can say, I'll just change to revision. And if I back it up now and I go take a look, now I have my revision note here. And so if I just wanted to keep track of, okay, this is when this feature worked or that feature worked, I can do that as well. And so, yeah, I think, I think the editors are going to catch up and eventually start realizing that users need to have better local version control where they can iterate and revert really quickly and manage that more easily. But I didn't want to wait. So I just made this myself. I've been using it. It's pretty basic so far, but I also want to use this as an opportunity to sell software. So I made this, I own this software. I programmed in a trial period so where you can use it for free. and then eventually you can buy a license from me and enter the license, and then you get access to the software forever and free access to the rest of the updates that come in the future. Right now it's in early development, and so if you join early development, you get a free lifetime license, free access to all of the future updates, and a direct line of support from me. And so I would really appreciate that. I'll put a link in the description. But I just wanted to make this video kind of vent about, a big issue that I've been facing, and just literally a solution I coded up for this very specific issue. And let me know if you've had this issue, or you have a concern with like how fast the iteration process is, because LLMs just spit out a bunch of code and it's going to be too much to review, and you just want to test if something works. And if it doesn't, you just want to easily go back. Let me know if I'm not the only one. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Peace and have a great day.